YouTube says it has had enough of vaccine misinformation on its site.
And false stories from phony sites to run circles around major news outlets.
Many people don't know the difference between something real and something created to deceive them.
Open your eyes.
If you've ever had this feeling that something was terribly wrong with the world that we live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. This is the last video I'm probably going to do on the Sounds of Freedom, and it's only because more things, like I had said in my previous videos, you have to wait to see what narratives and what things come out of these stories which are being promoted in the mainstream. Whether or not you realize it, Sounds of Freedom was being promoted in the mainstream. It was not a story that was buried. They were promoting it. And just because they're promoting it in a light where they're saying, well, liberals are trying to ban the movie, they're still promoting it. Thus, people are still going to see it. Thus, they are hurting the masses, which is what this is all about. And a subscriber over on the website at callforanuprising.com, Teresa, shared this with me, and I wouldn't have seen it if it wasn't for it being shared over on the website, because I wouldn't have seen it on Fox News. I wouldn't see every interview that Jim Caviezel's giving for the Sounds of Freedom as we speak right now, because he's out there all over the place. And of course, this ties into the Trump narrative. I'm going to play the clip in a second. You have to hear him comparing Donald Trump to Moses and referencing himself as Jesus. And of course, the audience out there is like, oh, well, that's because he played Jesus in a movie. These people are so in our faces, it's unbelievable. We see them doing the All-Seeing Eye. We see their connections to Freemasonry. We see the producers of the movie Sounds of Freedom and their connection to trafficking. So people need to be aware of this. I just want to let you know, I'm going to be covering things about the FedNow program, which is important that everybody out there knows. There's a lot of stuff you got to know about. And of course, the tie into the carbon footprint, this has to do with the mark of the beast, the digital ID. If you're not aware of these things, you need to become aware. And I'm going to be posting them on my other channels. They are linked below. I'm starting on those channels on Monday. I'm not posting on this channel. I will be posting over there. So please subscribe to those channels now if you haven't. This is pretty much the last time for a while I'll be posting here. So don't miss out on this content. You need to see it. And again, if you haven't joined the website at callforanuprising.com, please consider doing so now. At the very least, go over there, click free videos, and submit your email. Then you can be updated via email where I'm uploading, because there's a lot of channels out there that are not me, that are uploading old content or just using my logo because they know I'm not using it anymore, because all my channels except for this one got scrubbed, and then I have to do other ones with different names, et cetera, rebrand myself. That's how bad they don't want the truth that I'm giving to be out there. And that's not me patting myself on the back. That's the truth of the matter. I'm literally having to hide where these other right-wing pundits are getting promoted. Why? Because they're keeping you in the left-right divide. They are not exposing Satan every day. They're not even talking about it. And I'm going to get into this stuff now. So check out the website at callforanuprising.com. Sign up for the free videos, but at the very least, join the website for uncensored content. And again, the forum, Teresa shared this in the forum. Everybody over there shares a lot of great information. You're missing out for the price of a cup of coffee a month. For a month, not every day a cup of coffee, for 1 month. You get this unlimited 24 hours a day, 7 days a week content. People are constantly updating on the website, and I'm uploading uncensored videos where we don't have to worry about me getting strikes, because this probably will get a strike too. So here is the clip of Jim Caviezel talking about Donald Trump and comparing him to Moses.
We have to do a lot more, and we got to start with Donald Trump.
What do you mean?
Well, he's got to be in there because he's going to go after the traffickers.
Do you think he understands that?
We were with him last night.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bedminster, yes.
Yeah. Oh, so he's going to be moved to do something. I didn't know that.
Oh,
he wasn't here last night.
This is the new Moses. I mean, I'm still Jesus, but he's the new Moses. Pharaoh, let my children go free.
All right. I did not know that was an impressive screening at Bedminster, I guess. Yeah. Eduardo, Jim Caviezel, great to see you again. Yeah. Congratulations on all your success. I can't say I'm surprised, but I know how intense you are. And good job.
This is the people's movie. God bless you.
Absolutely. Meanwhile,
thanks, America.
Watch Sounds of Freedom in theaters and pay it forward by buying movie tickets for those that can't afford them.
We have to do a lot more, and we got to start with Donald Trump.
What do you mean?
Well, he's got to be in there because he's going to go after the traffickers.
Do you think he understands that?
Well, he saw the movie last night.
We were with him last night.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Bedminster, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
so
showed-
he's going to be moved to do something. I didn't know that.
Oh,
He was in
he's
tears last night.
This is the new Moses. I mean, I'm still Jesus, but he's the new Moses. He's gonna.
Last night.
This is the new Moses. I mean, I'm still Jesus, but he's the new Moses.
I don't know what more people need to hear. I mean, that's what you would consider legit blasphemy, right? Talking about himself as Jesus. And people are like, well, he's just joking around. Wink, wink. He's cracking a joke about being Jesus. No, there's no jokes to be cracked about Jesus Christ. There's no joking when it comes to our King of Kings. But of course, he could say these things and get away with it because people think that these things are humor and jest, right? And then, of course, you heard him compare Trump to Moses. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is the psyop that this is about. The herding of our Christian society into following and worshiping Trump, who, as far as we all know, people with eyes to see and ears to hear, this guy was never a Christian, still isn't a Christian. In fact, the one place he supports fully and the most is the place responsible for everything that's going on around here, Israel. Excuse me, frog in my throat, right? People don't realize that because most Christians, as you see in a lot of videos that I do, comment in the comment section and don't understand about the synagogue of Satan in the book of Revelation and those who will say they are and are not, and about Khazars, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These are things obviously covered on the website you can't cover here, but this is something that people need to know about, right? And Donald Trump is obviously hurting Christians. They think that he is a prophet. We've heard this over the last 4 years, right? Listen to Jim Caviezel. I mean, he's talking about, in that clip that I played, he's talking about how Donald Trump is going to come in and he's going to stop the trafficking. What happened the 4 years he was in office? Does anyone want to hold anyone accountable anymore? Because I remember beforehand covering Pizzagate. I was one of the first people to cover Pizzagate. One of the only people who really gave you the real details about Pizzagate, the connections with the signs, the symbols, the businesses, the Freemasonic Lodge over there. Okay? Me and Jeff, me and other channels out there covered it over and over and over again until it got to the point they had to create a fake shooting event at the pizzeria so that they could deflect from it. And ever since then, there has been a light shown on child trafficking. There has been a light shown on those things. I was covering McMartin, obviously, as soon as I started, which I'll show you some clips at the end here, which are very, very important. But when Pizzagate happened, all we heard about was how Donald Trump was going to come in and drain the swamp of Hillary Clinton and Podesta and all these guys. And not only did he not drain the swamp, the whole thing just got dropped. So we're supposed to believe how convenient that this movie gets released. And now suddenly they're going to do something about it, right? And all the Christians are getting lured into this, acting as if they didn't know that child trafficking existed. And even if they didn't know, it's pretty amazing to me because there's been a lot of cases here in America, including the most expensive case in the history of this country, which is the McMartin preschool trial, where they found tunnels under the school, which I'll show you, which if you don't know about it, you should know. And if you do remember my videos on it, you should rewatch. They're on the website, and I'll show you a clip from it, because everything else will get banned, of course, off YouTube, because they don't want you talking about it. But it was the most expensive trial in America. They literally were taking children out of preschools all around this country, but specifically McMartin got exposed, because they were taking these kids, they were ushering them underground in tunnels to an airport and flying them up into the hills of California, into the Hollywood Hills, etc., where these kids were being, whatted out to celebrities and politicians. People like Chuck Norris were identified by the children. The children came back, they had marks on their bodies, they could tell that they were abused. All these parents realized it because, kids had markings on them. The kids then started telling the stories and everything got blown up and everything, their whole operation got blown up. And of course, what happened? Well, the mainstream media tried to call it satanic panic, and that's really where it all started from. So that they can deflect and say all these parents want is money. And the parents weren't asking for any money. They're asking for an arrest to be made of these Satanists, right? But they blew it up with a psychological operation called the satanic panic. So people should be aware of it, and they're not. But here's Jim Caviezel. I want to play this clip because look, you could look at it the way you want to look at it and be like, oh, he's not. The acting is atrocious here in his real interviews. The way that he talks, it's so scripted. It sounds like a child is speaking. He can't even properly. It's like overacting. Like he's trying to act emotional. And he talks about a couple things that are triggers here that should wake people up to the connection to the occult. One, he talks about waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've covered the time 3 a.m. 3 a.m. is the time that they do their rituals. Their, abortion rituals, their sacrifice rituals of children is 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's coincidental, I'm sure. But Caviezel brings up 3 o'clock in the morning, being awake, listening, because apparently, to be an actor, you have to really take on the role. So he was okay with listening to the screams of children in the middle of the night. Really just weird stuff. And then listen to how he talks about the eyeball, going into the eye. This is a cult reference here, the all-seeing eye, right? The all-seeing eye of Lucifer. It's on the back of the dollar bill. The one-eye symbolism. Not only do we see Caviezel constantly showing it, listen to him referencing it here right in front of our faces.
But when you start going into this, which is children, there is something that I can't even fathom, even with the protection of Almighty God, because it took me 2 years to get over this. 2 years, and a friend of mine, Debbie, came into the room, and at around 3 o'clock in the middle of the night, I was in a chair, and she heard me just weeping. Now, I would go into these black holes, and I have no idea, I don't remember it, but this was all of the screaming that I had to hear. I didn't want to hear it, but I had to hear it. And then I was able to transform that into the movie that you just saw when I asked Alejandro Monteverdi to move our DP to take it and show him my eyeball so you would see a 20-foot eye to see what Tim goes through to rip his heart out. Now, it's not like this is what I want to experience any more than I want to get on a cross and have my heart broken. I went through hypothermia. I had to have open heart surgery. I was electrocuted, struck by lightning. I understand the necessity of what I was going to have to go through could help bring people back to God. Take it and show them my eyeball so you would see a 20-foot eye.
So you could see a lot of these things. And again, a lot of people want to believe Caviezel is some type of hero. This guy has mocked Jesus before. I've done videos with Will Ferrell where he's, talking to him, and Will Ferrell's pretending to be Ron Burgundy, and he's calling him Jesus. And Caviezel's fine joking about this stuff, like, making light of Jesus Christ. And you might want to say, or you might not want to say, you might say, and might think to yourself, well, it's not really a big deal, but it is a big deal, because no real Christian would be acting and saying some of the things that this guy's saying, like comparing Donald Trump to Moses. This is part of a herding mechanism. This is why Caviezel was chosen, because Caviezel played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ. So who better to put in this position to herd Christians towards Trump? That's what they're trying to do. Christians are going to be led astray. It might sound good on paper when you look at the other side and you look at Biden and openly discussing Satanism like I've covered in the past, and openly creeping on little girls and little boys. This is all done by design. This is part of the herding, right? This is separating the wheat from the tares. This is part of biblical prophecy. But the problem that people have is that they're actually believing that Trump is one of these prophets that is here. Suddenly Trump, who is a liberal his whole life, rubbing shoulders with Epstein, Gates, the Clintons, etc. Now he's seen the light, right? Now he's a big-time Christian, even though all he ever talks about is Zionism. But he's a big-time Christian. And Christians are being led astray because they're so angry and upset, which is by design, by the liberal party and the perversions and the sickness. They don't realize that this is being done by design to separate us, the left and the right. That's why they're igniting it so much. They know that woke is a failure. They're not trying to make money with the woke movement. They know that this stuff is sick and perverse because they're sick and perverse. They're trying to divide us over these things. They're trying to make the liberals even more sicker and insane than they already are. And they're trying to rile up the right and the left against one another. And that's what they're doing. So Trump is the figure on the one side. And I don't believe the figure on the liberal side is the figure that's being shown to us right now. I don't think it's Biden. I believe that it's still Obama who's going to be the figure that comes back out and leads this other side. But this is going to lead to so many different things, and Christians need to understand that. This whole movie being promoted has been done by design. There's another movie out. I covered it right before Channel got taken down, called God is a Bullet. And Jamie Foxx is in it. It's interesting that Jamie Foxx, we all see the videos and looking like a clone. He's got the clone video. People think he's dead. He, had the magic potion and now he's parallel. All these stories have come out. But no one's mentioned that Jamie Foxx's newest movie, God is a Bullet, is out there. You would think that maybe the mainstream media would promote this movie, right? There's a reason that they're promoting one and not the other, because God is a Bullet is about a satanic cult that abducts young children and ritually abuses them. And I've mentioned this year after year after year. When they bring attention to trafficking, they will not bring attention to Aleister Crowley's teachings. They will not bring attention to this. I cover it on the website. They will not talk about the core of trafficking revolving around satanic rituals and cults. that Planned Parenthood is built and based around this. Bill Gates' father, etc. All these people who are in power and in control right now of what you see going on with depopulation, etc. It's about Satanism. And if society figured that out, then we wouldn't have these satanic organizations that pretend that they don't really worship the devil out in the open. What would happen to them is the same thing that's happened over hundreds and thousands, or hundreds of years at least, is that when the Satanists and the witches are revealed, they're taken care of. They're handled. And it's not because they don't like the way they dress. That's how the media tries to portray this. Christians went after the West Memphis Three because they wore Metallica shirts. No, they went after them because people went after them because they found blood oaths with Aleister Crowley. And then conveniently in the teachings of Crowley, he talks about sacrificing young children, and they sacrifice young children. But conveniently for them, HBO decided to do a documentary on it and say they were stereotyped because of how they looked, and every celebrity in Hollywood came out like Johnny Depp to defend them, and somehow they got off of a murder trial without any evidence that was showing that they were innocent, when in fact all the evidence led towards showing their guilt. And then of course they make more movies about it, trying to show it being the father. This is all propaganda. They constantly have been letting the Satanists off the hook. There's other stories I've covered, and I'm about to get into the McMartin thing. I've covered over the years on YouTube, which you can't cover anymore. The Finders cult, the Franklin cover-up, all these things that have been around, okay, in America about child trafficking. Now, people think I'm raising my voice because they're like, some people question me. They're like, oh, you're just jealous because they're getting attention. You're not. No, if I wanted attention, I'd go out there and get the attention. Trust me, I'm better on a microphone, okay, and I'm a better leader than most of these people. And if I wanted that, I could go do it. Okay, my problem is that there is missing pieces in exposing trafficking. If you don't expose the core of it, then it never is going to stop. And that is the devil. That is that these people worship the devil. They follow these teachings of Aleister Crowley. And if you look at Aleister Crowley's teachings, all the things they're normalizing in our society are all in his teachings, from transgenderism to oneness to yoga to all of it. It's all normalized in our society. Things that we all just look at and we're like, oh, that's popular now. It's popular because they've made it popular, because they're normalizing Satanism in our society. And they don't want you to realize it. Okay? All these other things that have happened have revolved around, preschools, daycares, where they've trafficked these kids out. And it's been on American soil. And that's what's important to know. Not that these kids are just getting abducted in America, like in Sounds of Freedom, and then going to third world countries where they're being bought and sold. It's happening here, on the soil, underground. Talk about the underground cities, Emerald City, all these underground places, right? The Ozarks. They have built an underground network under our country with our tax money, where they traffic them around this country. And it happens right on our own soil. They aren't going to these other third world places. Does it happen there? Of course it does. But it's happening here. And that's one of the things they don't talk about, in addition to Satanism. So when we look at McMartin, I'm going to play for you some clips from my McMartin video, including, James Woods is another one of these actors that's come out and been conservative. I talked recently about, John Voight. Some of these actors, a few, very small amount, are conservative, right? And they play the role of, now Hollywood is banning me, like Jim Caviezel. Oh, Hollywood's banning me. Right? And these guys are still rubbing shoulders with the elites, okay, or with other celebrities. It's a show. It's all a show. So anyway, I've talked about that. James Woods is somebody who was in the McMartin movie that was aired on HBO. And of course, the whole narrative is to twist it and make it look like Satanic Panic. James Woods is now a figure for the Republican movement. And you don't hear him coming out and saying, you know what? The McMartin thing is real, because it's the realest case you'll ever see. The stuff that they found and they covered up is unbelievable. They filled in tunnels underground with dirt. And right after they dismissed the trial because it was costing too much tax money, Ted Gunderson went there and excavated the property to try to see what's going on. And he only had a week to do it because conveniently they had sold the property and were demolishing the property. So he wasn't really able to do what he wanted to do because they didn't want anyone to be able to do it. And thus, it got covered up like everything else. All these school events that happen where the schools get demolished right after? You know why that is? It's not because people's feelings are hurt and they can't look at the site of it. It's because they cover the evidence up. So here's some clips from McMartin, including the HBO movie where they tried to make a joke out of it because people just couldn't believe that Satanism was a real thing, even though if you look at the blood libel, you look at the people responsible for vampirism and all this stuff and drinking blood, and you hear celebrities talk about it, it's all normalized. They do it in music videos, they do it in movies. The celebrities even admit to doing it now on their own and nobody cares. And then listen to Gunderson talk about, you'll see the satanic sigils and all this stuff attached to Satanism, and I'll wrap the video here with those video clips. These are things you can find on the website. These are real things that are going on. When the media is promoting it like Sounds of Freedom, you look at it and you go, well, there's good to come of it. Okay, there's good to come of it. But there's good to come from a lot of the COINTELPRO agents out there, which are CIA agents. But they're leading you somewhere. That's the point. They have to gain your trust. How else are they going to lead people if they don't gain their trust? Okay? So they're gaining their trust by talking about these issues, making people say, hey, they're really good people. They care about the kids. The media is promoting it. And by talking negatively about it, obviously it made more people want to go see the movie. Them going, we don't want you to, they're pretending, they're like, we don't want you to see the movie. We're sabotaging the theaters. It's a better way to promote it than putting it on TV going, it's the greatest movie ever to be made. Especially when the woke media is the one doing it. Who's the ones that are going to go see it? All the conservatives are. Who are the ones they're trying to herd? Them. The liberals are already herded. They're already done. Okay? They're already finished. They've already poisoned themselves, for crying out loud, but they're going wherever they're told to go. The conservatives need to be herded with a leader, and Trump is the guy. And why do you think all this stuff in the media is happening with Trump getting arrested? It's building people's trust in him. Oh, they want him in jail so bad because he's going to expose all this. Do you think that he's actually not running for president, that he's actually going to jail? This is just building up more trust in him, more loyalty into him, more loving of him, because the government's showing themselves psychologically during this operation we're seeing. The government's revealing themselves as being corrupt. They're saying, look, we're letting murderers out on the streets. Look at the crime in all the cities. Look at us putting trans in your school. Look at Biden creeping up on little kids with no self-awareness. Look at them calling people who aren't liberals terrorists. Look at them banning free speech. Look at them wanting your guns. So they're showing you that they're communists and corrupt. Okay, this is done by design. They're not hiding it, even though liberals can't see any of it because they're so dumb. They're doing it by design, and they want you to put all your eggs in one basket, and that is on this Trump bandwagon. And that's why Caviezel was chosen, the guy who played Jesus, another, to lure Christians. That's why, because people see him. They don't think about the real human being and who he could be. They're like, he played Jesus. He was struck by lightning on the cross during the filming. Oh, okay. I mean, it's unbelievable how easily baited these people are who think that they're awake and aware of what's going on. This whole thing is a psychological war, which means it's a war in your brain, which means nothing that's going on in the mainstream isn't done by design. That's one of the reasons that I'm silenced. It's not because I'm greater than anybody else. It's not because, for any other reason other than the fact that if they don't keep you trapped in the left-right paradigm, then they can't psychologically work you where they want to work you. And that's what this is all about. And that's why the right-wing pundits are so promoted and not censored. Russell Brand, right? Everybody on the Daily Wire, Shapiro, I can't even remember the other guy that's out there who, was a liberal, Jordan Peterson, now is a conservative. And it's all done by design. Psychologically, they want you to believe what these people are saying and where these people are leading you. And Trump's role is vital in it. He is the role that is needed. Some people believe he is the Antichrist. That'll all be revealed to us. But people need to be aware that these things are done by design. Otherwise, if they didn't want this movie out there, it would have sat on a shelf like it had been for 5 years. It would never have been promoted. And it would never have been mentioned in the media because then nobody would go see it. And the theaters wouldn't know. Why would the theaters put it in the theaters and then sabotage the screenings, right? Oh, so they put it in all the AMC theaters. And then the guy who runs the theaters is shutting off the air conditioning. He's turning on the heat. They're putting the lights on during the screen. All these things are all like things that you see during trauma-based mind control, by the way, which is all stuff that they do to children and all stuff that they do to victims of SRA and satanic ritual abuse. They wouldn't even put it in the theater. They wouldn't let it out. They control everything. The FBI and the CIA control all of Hollywood. So it's done by design. So you have to look at it and say, okay, what are they trying to do? And that clip is a perfect example. Whether it's the clip of hearing him reveal himself about the all-seeing eye and how bad his acting is in the clip, overacting, trying to act, to him calling Donald Trump a modern-day Moses. That's the answer to, well, what's the psyop behind it? That's the psyop. That right there is the answer to it all. That Donald Trump is a modern-day Moses, a modern-day prophet. That is exactly what they want. And people out there, they're seeing it. They're seeing Caviezel cry on TV. They're seeing Trump do screenings of it, and they're getting lured in. They're getting lured in. And you might say, well, there's nothing wrong with that. Well, that's because you don't know what's happening yet or what's to come. But something's going to come of it because that's how these operations work. They herd the masses. Here now is some stuff about McMartin for those of you that don't know. And again, this is the type of stuff that's over on the website that you can discuss. This video will only be up for a day or two because it'll likely get a strike. So make sure now you go and sub to my other channels below before you watch this McMartin
what
stuff.
may become one of the biggest child molesting cases ever on record.
Here's the video.
7 nursery school teachers were arraigned today on more than 100 counts of child molestation.
The accused include the preschool owner, 76-year-old Virginia McMartin, her daughter, and 2 grandchildren.
Martin Preschool in Manhattan Beach, as it looked when we photographed it discreetly just 3 weeks ago. It started out here in Manhattan Beach looking like an isolated incident. One mother noticed that her young son was having nightmares and difficulty sitting down. Authorities now believe that at least 60 young children were victimized, and that the ultimate number could well be much greater.
Those children, some of them as young as 2 years old, were photographed by the suspects.
Kiddie porn was the primary purpose for the alleged sexual abuse of children.
Some children allege that a living creature was sacrificed on the church's altar.
The truth about Satanism is they truly do use blood, and they mix it with urine, and then they also use the real meat, the real flesh. This is what makes Satanism true, and this is what 1,200 molested kids in the city of Manhattan Beach have told the Sheriff's Department.
I believe we may be dealing with a nationwide conspiracy of child predators who are operating daycare centers as a cover for child abuse.
Satanism, devil worship, is being practiced all across the country.
We have all types of perversion. Is cannibalism part of the ritual?
The children have spoken about this in almost every instance.
We're made to chew pieces of these children's hearts, pieces of their flesh.
When parents begin to realize these things are really happening, it's not just something out of the dark ages, it'll be much more difficult for these people to pull these things off.
When we hear of ritual sacrifices, our reaction is one of horrific avoidance. We say things like, this only happened in the Middle Ages. It doesn't mean that children are not telling the truth.
Let's talk about pyramids again. Are these your books?
Yes.
You think it's normal for a man your age to believe in pyramids?
Well, I laugh about it now.
You laugh about it now, but you weren't laughing about it then.
No, I guess I wasn't.
You see an item on this table called a radon?
Yeah, but that's just what it's called. It has nothing to do with me.
That's not what I asked you. Isn't it true that a radome is supposed to have 40 times the effectiveness of a regular pyramid?
Objection, Your Honor. Calls for speculation as to the wattage of the radome.
Now, what is this? It's a pyramid hat. A pyramid hat. Like this? It's backwards.
Mr. Bucky, is it possible that pyramid power drove you to molest children?
No.
Is it possible that pyramid power blanked out your mind so you forgot horrible events, like molesting children?
McMartin case. The McMartin case broke in the early 1980s. The children claimed that after they were dropped off by their parents at this preschool, Manhattan Beach, California, they were involved in various ceremonies, including ceremonies in a chamber underneath the school. They claimed there were tunnels under the school. They claimed they were molested under the school. They claimed there were children that were sacrificed, the satanic type ceremonies, adults in robes chanting without any clothes underneath them, candles, the whole 9 yards. The authorities went out in 1985, claimed they looked for evidence of the tunnels. The kids said, in addition to the tunnels, that they were flown up into the mountains, Crestline in particular, or at least to the mountains. They didn't name Crestline, they were too young to know the difference, by jet airplanes. So I did some checking on my own. You can flip it. And as a result, in the early April 1991, I gained access to the property. And from the access, I hired archaeologist, Dr. Gary Stickle at UCLA, He brought in a team of individuals, professionals, and we dug for tunnels under the school. Whereas the authorities could not find the tunnels and subsequently stated that the children were hallucinating, there's nothing to it, we found the tunnels ourselves. And this is, these are, Sue, I think we're kind of out of order there. Can you kind of watch me and we can, Sue? I mean, Bryce, can you kind of watch me because, huh? Well, they were in order. Okay, this is an example of the school. We went out and dug it up and went down and looked into the cross of the dirt. What happens is when you go take a cross section straight down, you can see foreign dirt that had been filled into the tunnels. Keep going, Sue. That's the entrance to the tunnel under the Dog West classroom. Keep going, Sue. Now, the interesting fact here is that these avocado roots were live. There was a dead avocado root over here, which meant that the entrance to the tunnel, there was a 9-foot entrance that had been cut as so. Keep going, Sue. Upside down. Other way. Keep going. Other way. That was the concrete, oh, keep going around. That's it. That was the arch between classroom 3 and classroom 4, exactly the arch, and that was the tunnel that went through there. This was a pentagram that we found on the plate in the sandbox. We found this Disney bag, plastic Disney bag, copyright 1982, 1983, in the entrance of the tunnel, actually under the foundation, so it could not have been placed there in 1966 when the building was built. It had to be in place there sometime subsequent to 1982. The tunnel's been filled in. Keep going, Sue. This is the live avocado root that I mentioned to you a few moments ago, and some more. And this is a diagram of the tunnel entrance. There's the live avocado root. There's a dead one. And that was, as I said, about 9 feet across. Another diagram. That's where we found the plastic Disney bag right there. Keep going. And that's the diagram of the school. There is the west entrance that I showed you just a few moments ago. That's the chamber. The tunnel went across the 4th classroom to the 3rd classroom. We didn't have time to explore it further. We ran out of money and also time. We were kicked off the lot, actually. There's a tunnel here. The children claimed that they were taken up into the triplex of the next door, the bathroom of the triplex. There was a trap door there, and taken out into the community and prostituted. We found that the trap door in the bathroom of the triplex next door. Keep going, sir. They keep going. The kids said that they were taken up into the mountains, flown up into the mountains. I had an informant that told me that she had an idea where the children were taken, abandoned satanic site now, by the way, and this was up in Crestline. These are pictures of the site. It was built on the side of the mountain. Just keep going, sir. It was impossible to see it from the street. You could only see it from down below, and it didn't mean anything because it was so many miles away, or from a helicopter or an airplane. You can see the massive size of it. The street was over on the top there, so anybody driving down the street could not have seen what was going on down here. This is, I'm sure, where some of the ceremonies were taking place of the kids who were flown up there. Keep going. That's probably, I don't know what that is. But I think it's about 9 feet across. What would that be, sir? Altar? Okay. This is, it's down in there. It's where the site is. This would be where the street is, so you can see you couldn't see it. Keep going. That's probably, that was an altar we think that was broken, a big stone. 666, that was carved in one of the rocks. That was a large circle with all kinds of writing. I couldn't get up high enough to take it all in and get it all on one picture, or a series of pictures. That was in the dungeon. They had a dungeon with the drop hole. The hole was probably about 2.5 by 3 feet, and it was about 10 feet down. It was below the surface. The ceiling was probably about 8 feet high. I think that's where they killed their captives before they sacrificed them. Some ovens that were on the property. This is a sign, and you can take the next slide and put it overlay it on top of it. And can you see it there? Oh, turn it around. Turn the overlay. Yeah, that's it. And this is one of the signs that was there. Can you read that up there, Sue? Yeah, read it out loud. It was a seal of one of the satanic signs. Go ahead, take the next one. And put the overlay on top of it. Armistice Day.
It's upside down.
Okay, that's all right. Go on to the next slide. Some more of the site. This is looking over the edge. This would have been where the abandoned satanic site was. Over the edge, you can see that there's no way that you could see it from down below. This is the road that goes down to San Bernardino. These are the 8 basic satanic holidays. We have one coming up, Halloween, very shortly. Witches celebrate the dead. And the next calendar is a more detailed list of the holidays, satanic holidays during the year. Just flip them over real fast. It tells in detail about the purpose of each holiday, sexual climax and so forth, blood and so forth. Okay? Now, during the McMartin case, at the time that it broke, I called the U.S. attorney, not the U.S. attorney, but the district attorney, and I told him, I talked to Lael Rubin, who was the prosecutor. I said, I think I know where the children were taken up in the mountains, and I'd be glad to take you up there and maybe have the children go. Just turn it off a minute. Have the children go up and maybe they can identify it. She said she wasn't interested. During the second trial, the first trial, Ray Buckey had a hung jury. Second trial, we discovered the tunnels under the school. I called the district attorney. They came out, a fellow named Perez, investigator, said he wasn't interested. There weren't tunnels there. He wanted to argue with the archaeologists. They could have used the tunnels in the second trial. They didn't. Why? The children identified an actor, household name politicians, professional baseball players, professional football players. In my opinion, it was a major cover-up.